When people are leaving religion, they often have an allergy to truth claims or spirituality or religion because they've been hurt and they have some religious trauma. And then people get stuck because what religion does is, even though as you're leaving religion, maybe that really was the best thing for you, and there's things outside of religion maybe that you're enjoying, most people who leave do miss at least one thing from their religious past. For some people, it's the rituals, or it's the community, or it's the liturgical calendar, or it's art, or it's music, or it's people, or it's something that you used to have from religion that you no longer have. But then you have all this allergy to truth claims because you've been hurt. And so you don't know how to get those things that you actually miss. What I would do with a client who was leaving religion is really dig into, what are they missing? What was something that religion was doing for them that was good, either psychologically or socially, or usually both? And then we can get into the science of whatever that thing is and really try to find authentic ways of building that into their life. Because what happens when people are leaving religion, especially when you're in something like a high demand religion, too much order is suffocating. It's not good for us psychologically, but too much chaos, nihilism, not knowing how to make decisions, not knowing how to raise your family, that's too much chaos. And we actually don't do psychologically well in that area either. And so we have to build up some order and structure. And it can be really hard for people leaving religion because order and structure reminds them of the religion that they left. So we try to do this through authentic and healthy ways, building back some of that order and structure that they miss from their religious past. What are the tools that have been under the umbrella of religion and spirituality, and how can we get access to those tools without requiring faith in the unbelievable or forcing yourself to believe things that you just don't believe? For me, the most healthy approach to spirituality is really getting at what the tool is and how can we apply that tool to our lives without having to get involved in religious dogmas, cults, or leadership, or abuse, or any of these things that happen in the world of spirituality. How can we get it without faith required so that we can have all the benefits of religion and spirituality and also avoid a lot of the pitfalls that happen in that world? When people are leaving religion, if your entire moral foundation has been built on God and what God wants, then as you're leaving religion, it can feel like, how do I make sense of right and wrong? But the reality is that even though we like to claim in religion that there is objective morality, we've never had anything like objective morality. Even when we have something like the Bible, we have to pick and choose what verses we decide are moral and what verses we decide are immoral based on a modern conversation. Even the idea of objective morality is more or less an illusion. The only thing we've ever had is relative morality. And so we have to make this shift from vertical morality, which is, I do this sense of right and wrong based on these kind of commandments of God, to horizontal morality, which is, what I do affects other people. And that's really where morality comes from, is that we are born with a natural sense of empathy, that I'm a human having a human experience. I don't like suffering. It's unpleasant for me. And I know that my actions can cause suffering with other people. The golden rule predates all of our modern religions. We've had the golden rule long before we've developed anything like modern religion. And so we can really start there. We can start with the golden rule. We can start with suffering, that suffering is bad, and that our actions affect one another. And the good thing is that we're actually happier. Even if you wanted to be selfish and just say, I want to live a happy life, we have so much science in the realm of human well-being to show that when we're kind to other people, when we have good relationships, when we're altruistic, when we're helping others, we actually are happier. We get a lot of evolutionary brain rewards for that pro-social behavior. So really, we just start with the golden rule and we lean into horizontal morality versus vertical morality. And we learn about the science of well-being, and we are aware that our actions affect other people and that we can make ourselves and others suffer more or less, and that their lives and our lives are better when we are kind to one another. To me, that's just a better way to start with the conversation of morality versus the conversation of which God is correct and what does that God want. That actually just makes it harder than just starting with the golden rule, which we've had since before religion. We're seeing a rise in political identities and politics acting as religion. We saw this, for example, with Black Lives Matter, where young people aren't just treating it like a political movement, it's also their community. It's something that's bigger than them that they are a part of that helps them to get a sense of who is in their in group and who is in their out group. It's also spiritual for many of the younger generation. We see this prediction from Nietzsche that when religion starts to decline, the first thing that we're going to do is create political religions and really find our identity with politics. And we can see that definitely happening for better or for worse. We're also seeing a rise in New Age spirituality, which tends to have a lot of occult aspects to it. So this is almost a reaction to the male hierarchical patriarchal religions that we've had, is this kind of swing into the feminine and astrology and tarot and intuition. We're seeing a rise of the feminine. We're seeing a rise of occult practices. I think we're up to 1 in 5 US adults do some kind of occult practice, whether that be tarot or crystals or whatever that is. What we're finding is that although people are leaving religion, most people in America are not atheists. Most people still believe in God. The majority of people, even if they're not attending church, still believe in some kind of higher power. They're still curious about spirituality. So even though sitting on a pew is something that is in rapid decline, we're seeing a rise of different kinds of religion. This could be political religions, this could be the occult world, this could be even things like a CrossFit community becoming something like what religion used to do for people. My favorite book for that is Strange Rites, 7 New Religions for a Godless America. And it talks about 7 new religions that are on the rise. Wellness culture, for example, can act like a religion. We're seeing new religious behavior pop up in different places other than the pews. So just because people are leaving religion doesn't mean that they don't need community or that they don't believe in a higher power or that they don't consider themselves spiritual. It just means they're no longer finding God or spirituality in the pews. And that's really what we're seeing. Whenever you're using spirituality as a tool to not feel something that you don't want to feel. This is a term we call spiritual bypassing. A good example would be good vibes only. So there's kind of something happening with New Age spirituality where people are saying that person is toxic or that situation or that area is toxic or it brings my vibe down. It's a different kind of prosperity gospel where you're using spirituality to try to only have positive feelings, when real spirituality, deep connected spirituality, you're going to learn and meet the worst of yourself. You're going to meet your shadow. You're going to meet parts of you that you don't even want to look at because you're not particularly proud of these parts of you. And so if you're not doing any of that, if you never have to sit with a negative emotion, then you're using your spirituality just as a way to try to use these hip psychology terms to not feel things that you don't want to feel. And then spirituality is just a crutch that keeps you like a child where you want to be having a good time all the time instead of actually dealing with hard things, dealing with death, dealing with isolation, dealing with meaninglessness, dealing with grieving, dealing with your shadow, dealing with your inner child, dealing with the parts of you that you don't want to see. If your spirituality isn't doing those things, then it's spiritual bypassing, where you're just using it as a security blanket. You're using it to keep the good times rolling, which is just a really shallow form of spirituality. And we're seeing that with New Age spirituality, definitely.